In today's video I'm going to be carrying out some paintwork repairs to the front bumper on my Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now, a short time ago I made reference to the appalling repair that someone had carried out to this offside front bumper corner on this car. I don't know what they used to carry out this repair. They could almost have blotted the paint on with a sponge, it's that bad. So today I'm going to remove this bumper and repaint this corner and improve upon this dreadful mess. So I have a whole bunch of things here. I've got various different grades of wet and dry sandpaper, some masking tape, a couple of sanding blocks which are great for getting a good flat smooth finish. I had some paint made up to the colour of the car, which is Chrysler AXR is the colour code. I can't remember the actual name of the colour, but it's black or anthracite of some description. Some plastic filler primer and some lacquer. So first of all the grille has to come off. So across the front here we've got these little clips. Centres need to be pulled out and these clips removed. There's a 8mm nut and bolt at either end. I don't think that's standard at all. I think it probably should have had these in here. Someone's clearly been messing about with this bumper in the past. That's a horrible noise. And it made that horrible dog bark as well. This lower trim is removable to improve the ground clearance of these cars, and it's just unclipped with a series of push and twist clips underneath. Unfortunately there's a cat that takes a piss every day on this trim, so it doesn't smell too good here. Spraying its cat wee everywhere. Number plate can come off. And just in the wheel arch here, there's a bolt up here. This is one of the plastic rivets. I've got plenty of these in stock because you can't use these again. Once you've removed them, they're done. And there's an 8mm bolt there. That's probably not standard. A lot of this isn't on these. Things get damaged and people just use whatever they've got to put them back together. Remove this 10mm bolt. And these two clips. The bumper can now be removed from the car, and there are just a couple of things to undo. The connectors for the fog lights, and the bumper is off the car. I'm removing the fog light on the offending side. It's just a couple of T20 bolts. The fog light just presses out. You just simply have to press in these three little clips. Yeah. I'm also going to remove the chrome trim, so it's one less thing to have to mask up. There are a series of little tabs that you have to press in around its perimeter, and then the chrome trim is free. So here is the bumper. I've brought it round the side of the house to a shady place because it's quite a hot day. I don't want to get sunburnt again. So you may be wondering why I haven't just taken this into a body shop to get this sprayed. And to be honest, I normally do, and I do have a really good contact who normally does this kind of work for me for a good price. Amazing factory finish results. But this car, I mean, it's just a hack really, this car. It doesn't warrant me spending a couple of £100 to make this perfect. The car isn't perfect. So I'm happy to just go at this in the way that you'll see if you continue watching this video. So next thing, it's a really good idea to thoroughly clean the bumper and also to cut back the area of the bumper that I'm not going to be spraying to enable smooth blending. You'll see what I mean later. Now I know that I'm going to be painting this side of the bumper and I'm going to be blending it somewhere around in the middle here. So I need to ensure that this area across here is all cut back so the paint is good so I can blend into it. It's best to use a cutting compound for this. Okay, so we've now got a good surface here that we can blend into. So we'll start with a medium sanding block. As a general rule with imperfections, if you can feel it, you will see it through the paint. It's not like painting a door at home or a skirting board. Painting with brushes can be very forgiving, but spray painting isn't, so it really does need to be mirror smooth everywhere. Even the slightest little mark will show through the paint if you don't sand it out at this point. Okay, so sanding with the medium block is complete, and at this point you can see that I've prepared it to a nice matte finish. It's pretty smooth, it's just drying. I've rinsed it all off with clean water, and I'm now about to use some 400 grit, which I'm going to wrap around the block so that we get consistently smooth finish. You can always tell a hand prepared car with just sandpaper and fingers because you get ripples in the paint if you look from an angle, from a distance. You can avoid that. Use a block. And of course there will be some contours that you will need to do by hand. So here we are, pretty much ready for the first coat of primer. So it's been prepped with a medium foam sanding block, followed up by some 400 grit wet and dry wrapped around the block, and then the finer edges taken care of by hand. It's all dry, it's ready for primer. Using plastic primer, filler primer, so it's a bit more forgiving, fills in some of the minor imperfections, but it doesn't work miracles. You still have to be realistic with your preparation. This needs to be shaken for a good few minutes. So just a very light kind of ghost coat to start with. Okay, so here we are in primer, all covered well. Could probably have done with a bit more, to be fair, but all the key areas have been primed. So once the primer's gone off, I normally like to, again, cut back this area here to get rid of any overspray. Now I'm going to sand this very lightly with either an 8 or a 1200 grit, plenty of water. It's really light sanding just to make sure that it's smooth, ready for top coat. I don't want to be wearing that back through. So now for the lacquer. I sprayed the base coat up to around here, so I'm going to take the lacquer further across and blend it just in here. That's all been cut back already, and there is method to that madness, because if you don't cut it back, what you end up with is almost like a line, like a tide mark as you cut back and try and blend. It's really hard to explain, but you end up with a line that there's a bit of dirty paint underneath that you can never kind of access because it's under the new paint, but no, I can't explain it. Anyway, I just do it this way and I get better results. So, lacquer is very prone to running if you get too much on there. You can leave it, obviously when it's fully set you can cut it back, but it's best to try and avoid that in the first place if possible. This is really frustrating. I've had a failure of a can. This is the only can of lacquer I've got, and I've tried changing over the nozzle thinking it was the nozzle, but it's basically all coming out around here in massive amounts, and it just splashed my new bumper finish with dollops of lacquer, and I'm really pissed off about that. It's really annoying because it was going so well. I'm now going to have to go to Halfords and get another can of this, and that's like 20 minutes away, and that's bloody annoying. I'll be back. So here we are, a new can of lacquer from Halfords. Only just made it in time before they shut, and thankfully I've got the Smart, so I was able to dash down there in that, as it would have been an interesting journey in the Jeep without a bumper. So let's hope the two lacquers are compatible. I'm going to give this a damn good shake and get this finished off. So there it is, all done, all lacquered. I'm quite happy with that. Need to let that dry properly before I even consider putting this back on the car. But that's not a bad finish for a can. I just need to blend it here when it's dry. This, where it needs to be blended here, I mean that's going to be behind the number plate anyway, so that won't show. So here it is, bumpers back on. It's not a perfect job. We have to factor in the fact that I've used cans. It's blended around here, and I think, to be fair, you can't really see where it blends from new to old. A few little imperfections at the front there. I probably could cut this back with some 1200 grit, wet and dry, and some soap. Really lightly sand it and then buff it again, but it's early days for the lacquer. I only did it less than 24 hours ago, and I really don't want to start doing such things until it's fully hardened. But overall, I'm actually really happy with that as repairs go. So that's it, job done. It's turned out well. I hope you found the video useful. It was quite hard work. It was quite a long day with it yesterday, and it did spill over into today as well to enable me to get the bumper back on. Unfortunately, I didn't have to work today, so I can get that back together. So until the next video, thank you and goodbye.